Alright, this is probably going to be a shorter video, and that's because these games aren't actually out yet, but I know enough about them to be intrigued and excited. Today, we are looking ahead. These are my top 6 most anticipated board games of 2026. Now, a quick disclaimer up front, this list is not about hype for hype's sake. These are games that, based on what we know right now, the designers, the themes, the publishers, or the ideas behind them, feel like they could be something special for me. Details are still light on some of these, but this is more about potential and that feeling you get when a game seems like it's going to be just your kind of thing. So, with that out of the way, let's jump right in. Kicking off this list at number 6 is Trick to the Future. Now, this game is on my list because I was very interested in playing its predecessor, Twinkle Starship. I thought that it looked like an incredibly clever twist on trick-taking, but unfortunately I just never got an opportunity to play it. This is a trick-taking game where you can place bits over the cards that you play to change their value. Picture an old school digital clock and how the numbers are divided into 7 segments. That's basically the idea here. I think that alone is a really interesting concept. On top of that, though, you are also going to be scoring points based on how many of those pieces you collect off of other cards that you've won. And it also sounds like there's a twist that if you've won more tricks than you have pieces left at the end of the hand, you can't score points. So it sounds like the game pushes you to balance winning tricks with spending your resources. Now, this isn't the kind of game that I'm expecting to completely melt my brain, but it does feel like the kind of experience that would reward clever play and smart sequencing without overstaying its welcome. If this ends up being as tight and playful as it sounds, I could easily see this becoming a regular one more game kind of title for me. At number 5, we've got Night at the Zoo. First of all, this theme is just inherently charming. A zoo after hours already feels like a great setting. I love the idea of helping these animals sneak around the zoo trying to get back into their enclosures before they get caught. The main reason I'm excited about this one, though, is the designer. Thomas Hullock has been on a tear lately, and SETI is probably one of my favorite games of the last few years. I still need to play Galileo Galilei because I have a feeling that one would be a hit with me and my group as well, but even without playing any of his other games, I know enough to know that I'll be taking notice anytime he releases a new game. This is also one of those games where I am really curious to see how the theme is expressed mechanically. When a game commits to its setting and lets the system reinforce the story, it is usually a good sign for me that I'm going to love it. If Night at the Zoo can deliver a fun, clever experience that feels as lively as the theme suggests, this could be a really nice surprise hit. Coming in at number 4 is Vestige. This is another re-implementation of an older game, just like my number 6. Vestige is a re-implementation of the Orange Nebula game Vindication, which is a game that I really enjoyed. My only negative about that game was the fact that the theme was essentially non-existent. I mean, it had a really cool idea for a theme, but the mechanisms and the gameplay really didn't do anything to support it. My hope is that Vestige will fix that. At its core, it looks like many of the mechanisms are the same, which is good. I really did like the mechanisms in Vindication. I especially enjoyed manipulating the cubes around my player board, taking them from potential to influence to conviction. Your potential can't be spent, but once you've moved the cubes into influence, you can place them on the board as specific traits that will let you take certain actions. So I guess the resource that you're spending is self-improvement. It's such a cool concept and really fun gameplay. There's a lot of other things going on in Vindication, but if Vestige manages to take those mechanisms and just amplify the theme, I think this is going to be something pretty special. This is one that I'm watching closely because if the system comes together in the right way, this has the potential to be really quite excellent. At number 3, we have Chang'an. Now, from my understanding, this is a game that has been in the works for a long time now. From what I've read, post-COVID price increases basically caused the original publishers to go silent, hoping the game would just be forgotten. Luckily, it looks like Pendragon Game Studios has stepped in to save it, and I'm really glad that they did. Chang'an looks like it's aiming for a fairly simple rule set with really satisfying depth of strategy. And with a little bit of hand management and maybe even a little engine building. It also looks like it could be an easy game to teach and pretty quick to play, which is something that I appreciate more and more. Essentially, you'll be gaining cards and then playing cards from your hand above your player board to gain resources and then activate the abilities of the cards that you already have on your board. You'll have a choice of 4 different columns to place the cards, which I think will make for some really interesting and difficult decisions. This is also the kind of game where I'm expecting multiple viable strategies and a lot of replayability. If Chang'an lives up to its promise, this could be one of those games that quietly becomes a real favorite among strategy fans. At number 2 is Container. And yes, this is that Container. And yes, I realize this is another game that already exists or has existed in some form or another in the past. Now, here's the thing though. The original Container was well out of print by the time I really started to get into board gaming. When the 10th anniversary Jumbo Edition came out, I really wanted to try it, but I just couldn't justify shelling out that kind of money. But now, Allplay is bringing it back and at a very reasonable price from what I've seen. This is a game that already has a reputation, and the fact that it's coming back into the spotlight has me genuinely excited. Container is known for being unapologetically economic, player-driven, and intensely interactive. What makes Container special is that it doesn't hold your hand. The market is shaped entirely by the players, and every decision ripples outward in ways that you can't fully control. That's risky, messy, and very compelling. I love games that trust the players to create the experience, and Container looks like a perfect example of that philosophy. If this new version brings Container back in a way that's accessible without sanding off its sharp edges, it could be something really special. And finally, my number 1 anticipated game of 2026 is Brass Pittsburgh. At this point, the Brass system has more than proven itself. It's deep, interactive, punishing, and endlessly rewarding. Moving that system to Pittsburgh feels like a natural fit. The industrial history, the economic focus, and the sense of growth and competition all align perfectly with what Brass does best. What has me most excited here is the idea of seeing familiar mechanisms expressed in a new environment. A different map, different incentives, and new pressures that can make a well-loved system feel fresh again without reinventing the wheel. Now, Brass Birmingham has been my number 1 game for the last few years. You'll have to follow my latest Top 100 series to see if it makes the top spot again this year. But regardless, I think it's an incredibly brilliant design that not only features interaction, but makes it a necessity. Plus, the Roxley production on both previous Brass games was absolutely stunning, and I can't wait to see how this new version looks. If Brass Pittsburgh delivers the same tension, depth, and player interactions as its predecessors, and there's every reason to think that it will, this could easily become one of the standout releases of the year. So, those are my top 6 most anticipated board games of 2026. As always, this list is personal and it's based on what excites me right now, not just what's loudest or most hyped. I'd love to hear from you. Which games are you watching most closely, and is there anything on this list that you're especially excited about, or maybe a little skeptical of? As always, don't forget to like, hype, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. And until then, let's get another round for the table.